And we're back here live on the second week of the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. Craig Adkins alongside Brad Silbert, and our first guest of the evening is Noblesville head coach Jason Simmons. And Coach, we'll first talk about, just like last season, we had some crazy weather that, games got delayed to Saturday. That was the case this week against Carmel. We had to wait until a certain time, and then finally the game was postponed to Saturday. Same time, same routine and everything, but what does that do going from a Friday to a Saturday?
Well, it really shortens your weekend in some respects. It makes that Friday transition into Saturday obviously a lot longer because, we had an idea that the weather may be coming. And, we were 5 minutes away from taking the field, and we got the call that we were delayed. So for us, we walked from the school to Hare, and then we just kind of set up shelter in the locker room. We had our normal routine with our players in terms of having food for them, having drinks for them. So, they were obviously able to stay fed, stay hydrated, while we waited. Obviously, it was the second week in a row that we had been on delay, so our kids, had been through it fresh. Felt like we had a good plan with our coaching staff. What it really forced us to do was it kind of split our program. We had to. In some respects, we didn't want to lose prep time on Fishers, and at the same time, we still had to stay focused on Carmel. And so, as a staff, we went to work on Fishers Friday night since we had some extra time, and we lost that prep day on Saturday. We brought our kids in on Saturday morning, had a great walkthrough with our kids, and then got back into our normal pregame timeline on Saturday. But it really just kind of throws your weekend out, just completely out of sync.
Coach, let's talk about the game Saturday night. In looking and reviewing the games, it really looked like at halftime, nice close game.
It was. The third play of the game for us, we were able to throw a double pass for a touchdown. We had two guys in motion, so that got called back. That was a little bit of a momentum shot that we obviously could have used. So that hurt us. Then we end up punting. We felt like at the time we had a stop on third and long. Got called for roughing the passer. A couple plays later, they hit a post over the top of us for a score, and then from there I thought we played them fairly even. Obviously the scoreboard said we played them even, but I felt good about our kids going into halftime. We were down 10-3. I'd given up a couple of big plays, but I felt like we were still in the game, and obviously it was just a one possession game. Came out in the second half, and Carmel did a really nice job at halftime getting things set up to be able to run into the boundary and gain a numbers advantage back there. Took the opening drive of the second half and really just ran the thing down our throat, and our kids were able to bounce. We answered that score, and then we had some opportunities, some missed opportunities late in the game that could have helped us.
Just one side note here, Coach. I've noticed just in the first couple games here, and also in talking to some of the officials, that there really seems to be a very strong emphasis this year on calling the personal fouls, calling the roughing the passer, and trying to protect the players from injury.
Yeah, I think so too. We got called for 2 roughing the passing calls on Friday. The first one, it probably was a 50-50 call. The second was just a bonehead play on our part. We also got a personal foul later on, just a late hit on a kickoff, and I think they had 2 as well throughout the night, and so didn't really see much of that in our first game against Lawrence North. Saw a lot more of it in our game Friday versus Carmel, but I think player safety is at the forefront of everybody's mind, coaches, players, and certainly the officials this year as well.
There were a total, speaking of penalties, there were a total of 8 first downs by penalty to my count. You guys had 6, Carmel had 2, and majority of those that were in your favor were, pass interference. And it seemed like, obviously, and the name's escaping me, of the number 28, the right corner, that just couldn't shake Jackson Thurman. Every time Jackson was going to get past him, he either was grabbing a jersey or he was, just trying to do something to stick with him. And it just, penalties, it kind of just hampered what somewhat what Carmel could do, but a lot of times it was what you guys weren't able to do sometimes as well.
Yeah, I think I think our penalties all came in key situations. When you look at, I think we had 7 on the night. I had Carmel for 7 as well, but we had a roughing the passer that gave him a first down that would have given us a chance to get off the field. Had a personal foul on a kickoff that we tackled inside the 20, so that pushed the ball out past the 30-yard line. We had some key penalties, but I think there were some key penalties on both sides of the ball. We drew a couple of pass interference calls down in the red zone that gave us first downs and allowed us to get a fresh set of downs to go try and score. But I think when you look at the game for us, it came down to giving up big plays defensively and our inability to punch in touchdowns in the red zone. And that's the second week in a row for us, and that's something we have to continue to emphasize with our kids this week. We can't keep repeating the same mistakes and expect to have success with the schedule that we have.
Before we move on to next week's game, which I know is in the forefront of your mind, star of the game, offensively and defensively, who would you nominate this week?
I thought Ben Groover had a great game for us defensively. There were really 2 players for us that stood out to me defensively. I thought Ben Groover and Zach Tuine had great games for us. Ben had 3 tackles for loss and interception in the second quarter. Zach had a really solid game. We put a lot on Zach in terms of coverage, in terms of run support, doing a lot of different things, and he's handling for a sophomore. He's handling that workload really well. Offensively, I think Jackson Thurman gave us some matchup wins on the perimeter. Ben Collins and Drew Hartman up front played really, really well. When you look at Carmel and you look at everything that they do up front with different post-snap movements and different pressures, those guys played solid up front. And we got another good start out of Ryan Barnes in the quarterback position. He ran for close to 100 yards, and he really had a nice game.
Yeah, before we had to talk about Fishers here in week 3, Barnes, I wouldn't say it's a monkey off the back, but he got his first rushing touchdown, got his taste of scoring in his new school, and it's he just looks like he keeps getting more and more comfortable.
Well, he's getting more reps, and that makes a huge difference. We put a lot on his plate this week. He had 23 carries. We put a lot of check with me situations in at the line of scrimmage for him. For the most part, he handled a lot of those well. And it just gives us the ability to extend what we can do offensively when we feel like he's getting a grasp of what we're trying to do and what we're running system-wise, that we can start to kind of expand our toolbox going into games that'll help us. But he's getting more reps. He's growing. We just got to keep him bubbled up a little bit.
To wrap it up here in about 30 seconds, just talk briefly about what you got coming up Friday night when you travel down to Tigerland.
We got a tough one. It doesn't get any easier for us. You look at their offensive line; they're big, they're physical, they get off the ball well. Their defensive line has a great takeoff as well. So for us, we're going to have to battle on the line of scrimmage. We're going to lose some individual battles up there, but we got to win the war. That was a huge. I think that was a huge turning point for us a year ago. And I think the interesting thing for this game coming up is going to be the battle of special teams. You look at Fishers as special teams play early in the season. They've dominated their first 2 games in the area of special teams, and so we're going to have to try and win that battle. And I think the line of scrimmage battle will be fun to watch as well.
Sounds good, and we look forward to Friday night as you guys head to Fishers. Should be a great game for week 3, and look forward to talking about it. Unfortunately, we won't meet on Labor Day next week, but maybe we'll try and cram it in 2 weeks worth the following week. But good luck on Friday at Fishers, Coach.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
That's head coach Jason Simmons of the Noblesville Millers. They head to Fishers on Friday. We will talk to Fishers head coach Rick Wimmer coming up on our next segment on the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show in just 1 minute here on Hometown Television.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. and we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. Craig Adkins, Brad Silbert, and our next guest here is Rick Wimmer from Fishers High School. And Coach, the biggest thing that, obviously Pike came in pretty hungry. They were 0-1, and after, getting 55 points put up on them while they scored 35, they were looking to, get their first win, and it's tough to do on the road, especially at your place.
Well, and their kids played hard, and I thought we got off to a good start, and had the game under control pretty much, and then just didn't finish the game as well as we'd like to finish it, and they come back and made a run. That's kind of the 2 weeks in a row that we just haven't finished games like we need to finish them. So that's certainly a point of emphasis for us now. But I thought early in the game we played well, had another good game from our special teams units. Less one punt return that they did return for big yardage on us. I thought our special teams performed very well, both in the coverage and in the, with the exception of the one punt coverage, and especially in the return game. We got 2 field goals from Ben Norton, and our punter Taylor Silbert just punted very well. In fact, the long punt return, he really just out punted everybody on the coverage team, and by the time you get down there, just had too much room to run. But we're playing well in that area, and we need to play better offensively and defensively for a bigger part of the game.
How did the delay again? Did it help you, hurt you, or is it just kind of becoming an everyday thing for
you think
you
we're
guys?
getting used to it? Yeah, we've had 2 games and 2 delays and different reasons, and but it was a long day. It was a long, and you can't say that without saying the Pike is the one that traveled, and it was a longer day for them. But so anything, if it bothered us, it's more credit to them, because it should have been tougher on them. But I think it was tough on both teams. It was a long day. We started the game on a delay. We'd been there. They had been there for quite a bit the day before. It was very hot, and so it was tough conditions for both teams. That's why I thought it was one reason why I thought it was important for us to get out fast. And we talked about that with our kids. We needed to start this game well and get going, and we did do that. We just need to finish better.
You guys outscored them in each of the first 3 quarters, and then they outscored you in the 4th quarter. And fortunately, at the end, you had a 5-point edge. I was just looking here, 77 points in a game. That's a lot of scoring.
There was a lot of scoring, and they've got a lot of speed. They're a dangerous team, and offensively, they execute their offense pretty well. It's Coach Graves has done a nice job putting in a scheme there that's very difficult to defend, and I think they'll, if they can stay healthy, they'll create some problems for some teams.
Yeah, it seems like the past couple of years, you can't really say that Pike's been down. It's just that the MIC has been that competitive like it usually is, and they find themselves on the, the back end of a high-scoring game where it's, they couldn't catch breaks in different games, and no matter what they try to bring at you, your defense. It's what it always comes back to. I think with Fishers, that's just your defense, especially your front seven, or what kind of.
Yeah, well, they certainly challenge you, and we have played the first two games without a couple pretty important defensive tackles, and we're hoping we can get one of them back this week, and so that can help us. We've had some injuries, but each week, every time we've had an injury, guys have stepped up on both offense and defense. I thought our defense, played pretty well, with the exception of a couple big plays that they hit on us. But with that type of offense, you're going to give up some yards, and you don't want to give up the big play. You don't want to give up the easy one, and for the most part, we did that. So like I said, it's a very difficult offense to defend. We really played it pretty well, I thought. But we've got I thought we tackled fairly well for the most part, and I think we can still play faster. We're still learning how to play faster and make sure we don't take plays off, and we can still play better, I believe.
How is R.J. Potts doing?
RJ, I thought, had two good weeks for us. He had an outstanding game in the return game, special teams this week. Had a punt return for a touchdown opening after we had a 3-and-out to open the game, and they punted to us and had a very good punt, pretty deep punt, and he took it back maybe 60 yards for a touchdown, and then had one of his kickoff returns got out to about midfield. So. He's doing very well in that part of it, and he's been among our leaders in tackles both weeks, and been physical, and he's playing well. I think playing I thought last year he maybe didn't play as well as maybe he did his first two previous years, but I think this year he's off to a great start and playing with some confidence, and he's I think he's pretty good understanding of what he's doing, and even though he's playing a little bit of a new position for him this year, he's handled it well. And very pleased with what he's doing. We hope to get him a little more involved with the offense. We got him a little involved the first week. Last week he was kind of nursing an injury, so he practiced very little on offense, and we really didn't get him too involved. But we need to get him with his hands on the ball on the offensive side.
Well, I think one of the words you said it's key to the whole thing is physical. It's not only a physical game. We've had the adverse weather conditions the last couple weeks, although from what I've seen, the fields seem to have been in pretty good shape. A lot of hot, humid weather, and that makes it tough on football players.
Oh, yeah. And it certainly makes it tough when you play a game at 1 o'clock in the afternoon like we did on Saturday. So, but that allowed us to keep our freshman game at 10 in the morning and kind of do it as a doubleheader, but it was a hot afternoon, and depth became very important. And we had some injuries, and we had some young kids step up. Especially in our offensive line, we're starting 2 sophomores now because of injury. Nathan Parrott's starting at center, and Andrew Voskel starting at left guard because of some injuries to some seniors, and then we had a couple juniors come in and play fairly well, get their feet wet as varsity players who aren't starters. So, we played about 9 offensive linemen for bulks of games in our 2 games, and there aren't many teams that can do that. They can put 9 offensive linemen out there that can actually play, and so that speaks well of Chris Chang, our offensive line coach, and Coach Kelly, our offensive coordinator, got those guys ready, and we've had some guys step up in other areas as well. Both on offense and defense. Nick Douglas has played some defensive tackle. Didn't know he was going to start. And took Angelo House, who's been a defensive end, and moved him inside to give us a little more help. A defensive tackle where we've had some injuries. So, we've got some guys stepping in and doing what they're asked to do, and playing. Bryce G, who's a kind of backup tight end, who's playing a lot more now. Caught a touchdown pass and another big play catch this last week. So, we're asking some guys to step in and play, and they're doing a good job. So, we need to keep that going and hopefully begin to get some guys back soon too.
Before we get to Noblesville real quick, it's brought to my attention, speaking of stepping in and making a play, and I saw kind of like a progression of the play. Camden Ringel with that interception one-handed. What a catch!
What a play! You know, we had a
that could have prevented.
Yeah, we had a and it was a very tight game at that point. And our corner, Mike Pruitt, was limping around on an ankle and needed to come out of the game. And at the time, our third corner, Devontae Adams, who's also a starter at receiver for us, was experiencing some problems on the sideline, just some health problems. So he was out. He's fine, but he wasn't able to go in at the time. And so we called on the next guy up was Camden Ringel, who's about 5'7" and 140 pounds, and we all held our breath because we knew, you know, I mean, when he walks out in the field, you know who they're going to throw it at, because he's just small, but he has very good ball skills, and he's a competitor, and you know, you worry because he hadn't been on the varsity field, but you know, when I say I worry, I don't mean it because I don't think he can do it, you know, but you don't know till you're put in that situation. And he's earned the number 4 spot as a corner as a junior behind, you know, his third guy's a senior. So, you know, he stepped up and they went at him right away, and he played it perfectly and made a pick and in the end zone and got us out of trouble. So, you know, one play he played in the whole game and he made it count. So.
Coach, in about 30 seconds, how are you preparing for Noblesville this week?
Well, first of all, I'm very impressed with Noblesville. I think they play very hard, particularly on defense. I think they play hard. They're very sound in what they're doing, fundamentally sound, and scheme-wise they're sound. And then offensively, you know, the quarterback is, you know, a real threat, both running and throwing. And I like the way their running backs run the football, and got some skill at receiver position. Really impressed with their nose tackle and their whole defense. Really, I mean, I think that you know, I told our players that it's a team that's going to play very hard for the whole game, and we've had times where I thought we played hard and we played well and executed, but we've got to. This is a game that's going to be a lot tougher from the standpoint of, you know, the effort that we're going to get. Not that we didn't get a great effort from the other teams, but this team they're going to play hard the whole time, and you can't take plays off, and we got to do a better job in that area. I felt like we've gotten by, you know, not finishing games well. This team won't allow us to do that. So it's going to be a good challenge for us, and we'll have to play well.
Sounds good. Hard to believe we're already at week 3 as Noblesville goes and visits Fishers Friday night. And Coach, unfortunately no show next week, but we'll look forward to talking more with you a week or 2 weeks from tonight. And good luck Friday against Noblesville.
As always, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. That's head coach Rick Wimmer of the Fishers Tigers. And we'll be back in just a moment with more of the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show right here on Hometown Television.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
And we're back once again on the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. Craig Adkins alongside Brad Silbert, and we have John Kirshner, special teams coach for Hamilton Heights, and kind of a different twist on how we approach our segments. And Coach, just a tremendous thing that both your team and Kokomo's team did to help clean up what happened in Kokomo from Wednesday's storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely a humbling experience, a great learning experience for our kids. Our administration, obviously Coach Street, really did so much work to put it all together, and for everything to come together the way it did. Both our teams, the amount of work we got done in just a couple hours that we were up there was truly, in my opinion, quite remarkable. I mean, it was just amazing how much stuff we moved. Moved so many people. It went really well.
I know a lot of people are just talking about what happened, but how did this actually evolve and to actually happen? I mean, was this something that just was kind of an idea of somebody's, or how did it evolve?
Well, when the tornadoes first hit, this was Wednesday. It started out as Coach Street, and then talked with the other coaches that, we definitely wanted to help them out in some way, and we needed to find out first what Kokomo's football team needed, what the community needed, and then it kind of just developed and blossomed from there. And we didn't find out, obviously, until Friday afternoon at about 1 o'clock, 1:30 or so, that there wasn't going to be a game. So it was a very, very quick turnaround. And so it was kind of like, okay, no game, now we know what you need. And it went from how do we help a little bit to not only are we going to go up there, but we're going to bring food. We're going to bring 70-some football players. We have to get buses. We brought 25 cheerleaders. Our superintendent, Dr. Airwood, was kind enough to drive one of the buses. We took 3 bus loads.
Wow.
Our principal, our assistant principal, obviously Coach Street, and 7 or 8 of our other coaches were there. There was a half a dozen teachers that showed up, if not more. It was just an outpouring of
all hands on deck.
Yes, and it was amazing. It really was. It was an all hands on deck event for sure.
Well, it's always amazed me since I've lived in Indiana 40 plus years, in the spirit of people in Indiana when things go bad. I can remember when I lived in Fort Wayne, we had serious flooding problems out there, and the people just came out of the woodwork to help each other. And it's really, I think it's gratifying to see it happen. And I had a cousin of mine from Florida, of all places. I was talking to her the other day, and she says, "Hey, I heard about what was going on up in Kokomo." And it was like, wow, the news really traveled. And I think you guys are really to be applauded for that, because it was just a tremendous effort, and it just goes to show how much class there is in this state as far as we put our differences aside, when we're enemies on the football field.
Sure.
But we're out there for the common good of everybody in that. So it just I just don't think there's enough you can say about it, how wonderful it was.
And with one thing we were talking about before all of you coaches got here this evening, we were talking about how great this all was, and like you said, it's just a humbling experience to help them out in any way possible. And it would have been a privilege to be able to get these 2 teams down and play on the turf at Lucas Oil, where the state championships happen, and obviously the Colts play, but the Colts stepped in as well and did their thing.
And that was kind of icing on the cake a little bit for both teams. We got obviously the opportunity to go down there, and the Colts gave, I think it was about 400 tickets if you count both teams. We had parents and even some grandparents and we had 50 plus players go, had some cheerleaders go. I know they had 50 plus players, and it was a really neat experience to not only be down there, but be down on the field at the beginning of the game, we're standing there, we're watching the Eagles warm up, and we see these guys that we're talking, and there's Ryan Matthews, and he's 5 feet away from us. And then it was really cool because our kids got to meet Adam Vinatieri and Overton and Pat McAfee. They're taking pictures with our kids, and our kids are just like, wow, this is amazing, this is awesome. And then we got announced, both teams got announced, and there's 40,000 plus people, and we had a standing ovation. And for the kids, that was, to me, that was it. That was what it was all about, to know that your hard work and your good deeds don't go unnoticed. And for 16, 17, 18-year-old kids to experience something of that magnitude, I think is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Right.
It's one of those things where you were glad they had the opportunity in one side. The other side is you wish you would have been there playing the night before, but understanding the situation. Right. Well, let's shift gears to Huskies coming up this week. What have we got coming up this week for the Huskies?
We've got second game of the year, a home game, our second home game. So it's we've got Lewis Cass. I think it's a very typical Lewis Cass, very physical, very disciplined in everything that they do. They run that wing tee, they run a lot of misdirection stuff, and it is very good. They've been running it for a very long time, even under a new regime. With the coaching change, in my opinion, they're no different than what I've experienced coaching against them for the last 2 years. They're physical, they're tough, and it's going to be one heck of a game. We're going to have to play really well.
Yeah, there probably is no difference from when Coach Mannering was there, and it's, like you said, that wing tee, it's tough to defend.
It doesn't matter, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter how you draw it up. It is tough to defend no matter how many times you see it.
Are your kids healthy?
Right now we are. We're pretty healthy. I'm not gonna knock on wood here a little bit, but yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing all right, and just pray that everybody stays that way.
The weather has just been so strange through the summer and through practice, and not only the rainouts and in all of that. And I know the games I saw over the weekend, there were a lot of people who were cramping up very bad.
Mm-hmm. We experienced it a little bit our first week, but I think with the amount of stressing of hydration, and we've put the emphasis on it, it's gotten better. We've seen that taper off to almost nil in the last 2 weeks here since that game.
Here in a few weeks, actually in I think it'll be week 6. We'll have your game at Noblesville as our game of the week. And I noticed from looking at stats from the first week, you have a lot of players that came back.
We do.
Returning letter winners, starters, like Sterling Weatherford, Riley White, and all those kids, especially Cayman Lutz.
Jesse Brown. One.
A lot of leadership and a lot of guys that are just going to bring the younger kids up with them.
That's going to have to be, that is definitely the big X factor this year, is can we bring the younger kids up? And so far, I think they're doing a pretty good job. And it's only week 3, so we've got time will tell. But I think so far, with the hard work that they're putting in Monday through Thursday, it's starting to show. And our younger kids, especially like the O-line, they're getting there. We've got a lot of young O-linemen, good O-linemen, but we're starting to bring them along real well.
Well, Coach, on behalf of Hamilton County Television and everybody in Hamilton County, it's an honor for me to say thank you for what you personally did and what everybody in the Hamilton Heights community did for Kokomo.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very much. That was very
welcome,
good.
But thank you. Thank you.
Well, that is special teams coach John Kirshner, and we thank him greatly for coming on and telling us exactly what Hamilton Heights and Kokomo went through last Friday evening. Just an outstanding deed, and we look forward to hearing about the Lewis Cass game and next weekend. No show next week, but 2 weeks we'll talk some more football, and we'll talk football with another Hamilton County football coach coming up in just a minute here on Hometown Television.
when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
And we're back with you on the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show here on Hometown Television. Craig Adkins with Brad Silbert, and now we have Guerin Catholic head coach Tom Dilley. And coach, you hate seeing when the headlines put out here like this: Guerin squanders early lead.
That's the truth. We had some things go well for us early in the game, and we were really excited about the way we started, and we're just not very excited about the way we finished, but hopefully we'll learn something from it and get better.
Coach, I think you must have been one of the only teams. I believe you guys actually got started on time.
Yeah, it was a 7:30 game because of our travel, so we
Yeah.
started a little bit.
But I think you're probably one of the only coaches in the house that actually not only got to play on Friday night, but got to start on time.
Yeah.
There must be something out there at Guerin. Somebody must be
Well,
looking over things for
we
you.
were over in Lafayette, so that helped us based on where the front was, and we did start a half hour later by schedule than maybe would normally, but yeah, we were fortunate.
And just in talking about the game itself, when we were talking last week, I think you were anticipating that the game against Lafayette was going to be a tough game, and
Sure.
I'm assuming it lived up to be everything you thought it would be, and probably more, except the score didn't come out quite the way you would have liked it.
Well, they're a great football program, and this year's team looks to be a good team. It's probably even too early to tell for most anybody how it's all going to play out, but they have a very good team. They lost a lot of seniors last year, but they had some real good kids back and some great leadership. And with a program like that, the culture of the program is worth a number of points and yards right out of the gate. And, we just didn't respond well to some things, and we turned the ball over 4 times, and you can't do that against a good football program.
Just looking at Avery Denhart's quick stats, 22 of 31, 279 yards. Did it kind of throw off your defense a little bit to see that much passing, even though they saw a lot the week before?
No, I mean, we did a pretty good job early on stopping the run, and had maybe encouraged them to throw it a little bit, but we gave him a little bit too much time. He wasn't running all over the place, but he was keeping plays alive, and it was harder to stay with some people. And so yeah, we're not surprised they threw it that many times, but at the same time, we certainly wanted the ball react a little bit better and contain the passer a little bit better.
Another 100-yard game for Carter McGinnis. What can you say about that?
He's a great back, and the offensive line did a good job. We had a couple series after we got rolling that we did go 3 and out, and that really kind of hurt us because Lafayette continued to kind of move the ball. We only ended up running on 37 plays or something for the game, and part of that was not being able to get off the field defensively, but part of it was not punching out some key first downs. So, the 100 yards is great, and I'm sure everybody likes to see that. At the same time, we needed more consistent productivity from everybody through the game.
talk about Luke Keller coming in, fresh as a junior,
Sure.
and the comfortability. I mean, running your offense, and obviously, it's a good thing, having a back like McGinnis back this year, but it just makes it that much easier for him to, be able to execute the offense like he does.
Yeah, Luke has improved both of the first 2 games, we think, and we know he's going to be a lot better at the end of the season even than he is now, and he's doing a nice job. He has complete faith of our team and the complete trust of the kids, and they know what kind of young man he is, and he works real hard. He's a great teammate and a good leader, and so he's going to just get nothing but better. He hit a big pass to Grant Freemian on our first drive for about 40-something yards to get us rolling, get that first touchdown on the board, and did some good things. Certainly some things to learn from, and he'll get better each week.
Stars of the game, if you had to pick out a couple defensive and a couple offensive stars, who would you give them to?
Defensively, I thought one of our defensive ends, Sam Ashton, did a nice job of chasing the quarterback around a little bit and making some. He had a couple tackles for loss. We didn't always get to the kid, but he was a pretty constant harasser of the passer. And Max Gorsuch, one of our corners, a senior, we thought did a nice job in the back end. I really thought that Grant Freemian is a really good athlete who's rejoining our program this year as a senior after not playing since he was a freshman, and we're really happy to have him back and actually get him going a little bit this past week. The week before, he never got the ball, but he's a really good athlete and a good kid, and he's going to be a big part of things down the road.
Heritage Christian this week.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Qualls, and Heritage Christian, their program, about the same amount of history, lengthwise as Guerin Catholic does. And Ron Qualls has done a tremendous job at, building the program like has been at Guerin Catholic, and like you're continuing to build. We keep saying, things won't be easy anywhere down the road.
No, they have a good football team.
Yeah.
They don't have great numbers this year, but the percentage of real football players they have and that number of kids they have is pretty high. They've got good players at virtually every position. It's just they don't have very many of them, but they present a huge challenge for our defense, and they've got a lot of really good stout people up front on offense, and some linebackers that are very instinctual, and the back end usually keeps the ball in front of them and going to make you earn it and that kind of stuff too. So Coach Ray's done a nice job, and we're expecting a great game.
Well, anybody following Ron Qualls is going to have a tough act to follow. I've known Ron for probably about 20 or 25 years, and back in the old hometown television days, he did a lot of commentating for us on football, and the man. I always had nothing but the utmost in respect for him. He's a good football man.
Sure.
Good football man.
And
I know he'll be missed.
No, absolutely. I never had real firsthand experience coaching against Ron, but obviously being in the same region down in Indianapolis, spent a lot of time at meetings and talking to him, and certainly I don't know, firsthand football-wise, but certainly a really good man. And
well, they've got a couple. They've got at least 1 or 2 state championships under their belt. So how do you go about preparing for a team that's got not only which should be a pretty good team, but also a team that's got that history and kind of got that aura about them? How do you work with the kids?
Just like we do every week. I mean, you treat them all the same, and they have some quality players this year. They have a good program, and we want to be familiar with them, but at the same time, the priority, as it is every week, is that we get better as a football team, and we play our best football. And if we prepare hard and go out and play as hard as we can, we'll take the results that come. So we try to treat them all the same. If we're going to get up for 1 week, I'm going to wonder why we weren't up for the previous week. So it's just next up, and our goal is to play our best football game so far next week.
Sounds good. We hope you guys do play your best game of the year so far. This Friday, you're back at home against Heritage Christian, and should be a dandy on your home turf.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks for being with us, Coach. That's head coach Tom Dilley of Guerin Catholic High School, and we would like to thank Greek's Pizzeria for being our sponsor and feeding our crew this evening. They're at 10th and Cherry Streets here in Noblesville. Give them a call tonight. Dine in, delivery, or carry out 773-4444, and they will get you all hooked up. We had a few nice slices before we went on live, and I'm sure Coach Dilley had a few.
Pepperoni's good. Pepperoni's good.
You got it. Sounds good. The endorsement for pepperoni. We'll be back live in just moments with more of the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show and Another Coach right here on Hometown Television.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
We're back with you once again on the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. And joining Brad and myself this segment is Hamilton Southeastern Defensive Coordinator Matt Allfeld. Matt, we'll talk about the solid win that the Royals had, but the one thing that the burning question we're all wondering with each of you coaches is when having to shift from obviously the delay mode, and then you're postponed to Saturday. What does that do for your, how you prepare and everything that goes into your game plan?
As a football coach, you're kind of a creature of habit, and you get into a routine with your kids, and I think your kids kind of adapt that mentality as well. So anything that throws a wrench into that or a wrinkle into that, we're going to have it again coming up this week with Labor Day, coming up after this upcoming game. So, that can be something that's tough to overcome. For us, we really didn't feel it until tonight, when our JV's currently up at North Central playing. So, we didn't have, 2/3 of our team tonight for practice. So when you're working on personnel packages and some kids are on the road playing in the JV game that you're going to have to rely on for, a handful of reps on Friday night, that kind of hurts. Saturday morning, obviously, we're back in getting ready to play the game. We didn't really have time to, review the film of the previous game because you're on to Avon now. So it's definitely been a kind of a mixed up week for us, but we're hoping to get it on the right track and start preparing for a tough Avon team this week.
Let's talk about the game against the Panthers on Friday night. You're ahead 14-7 at halftime. The first half was kind of seesawing back and forth. From my vantage point, I thought both teams were doing a good job of moving the ball up and down the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're from a defensive perspective, they give you something that you don't see every day, which is an option attack with a wing in motion. Then they've got their veer package where they can give to the fullback or they can pull, and the quarterback's a great runner. Then they utilize their pitch man. So you really got to get off blocks in the alleys, and you got to play assignment football. So if your ends are crashing down on that dive, quarterback's going to pull it and it's a big gain, or if you can't get off blocks in the alleys, they're going to pitch it and have a big gain. So something we worked on all week, but we don't see it in our conference a whole lot. So it was tough at the beginning. We got a good stop. First series got them off the field in 4 or 5 plays, but then the second series, they converted a couple fourth down attempts. They they converted a 4th and 12 down, kind of in that intermediate range where they were too close to punt and far enough out they couldn't kick field goal. They converted 4th and 12 and kept the drive going, and eventually scored. But I'll tell you, I think, you talk about the seesaw back and forth. That game really could have gone differently at the end of the half. They busted off a 77-yard run on us with about 2.5 minutes to go in the half. Wow. And if not for Trey Poor, our corner, who was on the complete backside of this play, he sprints all the way down to the other end, knocks the kid out of bounds at the 10-yard line. So it kept the score at 7-7 with roughly 2 minutes left to go in the half. If Trey doesn't make that effort play and that hustle play to get down there and knock him out of bounds at the 10, it's a 14-7 in their favor going into the locker room. We eventually then held it. They had the ball at the 10-yard line. We had 4 plays to stop them, and we did stop them, so they got no points there. But that's just an all-out effort play from a senior that is one of our leaders, and we would expect nothing less. But for Trey to go down and knock that kid out of bounds was huge, and it made the game pivot in our direction. Our offense took the ball back deep in our own territory, and I thought we were trying to run out the clock. They were letting a lot of time run off. Hit a 3rd down pass up the seam and got it out to about the 26-yard line, and then we hit a 74-yard pass over the top with about 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, that was definitely, from what I saw, I thought that was the big turning point of the game. What adjustments did you guys make at halftime? I mean, you scored 17 points in the second half, but also you didn't allow any points in the second half. What adjustments did you make?
It's from a defensive perspective. We just had to get in and calm them down first of all. We had guys trying to do too much. And against an option team, if you're trying to, as a player, you got to have 11 guys working together, and everybody's got to have their responsibility and their role. And if you've got guys on the edge trying to tackle the dive, now you've got 2 or 3 guys on the dive, and nobody's on quarterback or pitch. And so getting everybody back in tune with, look, this is your responsibility. This is what we've got to, this is what we did all week in practice. This is what we prepared for. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to win the game on your own shoulders. You got to rely on the other 10 guys that are in your unit. They're going to rely on you, and if everybody does their job, we're going to be able to get this thing shored up, and we did. We allowed 43 yards from scrimmage in the second half, minimized the big play, which is always key, and we took the ball away twice. Johnny May had a strip. We fumbled the opening kickoff right to him at midfield, and 14-7. You're thinking there's a momentum shift right there, but Johnny May stripped the ball off the edge and got the ball out, and it was recovered by Isaiah Phillips. I believe we went down and scored then, and then the very next possession, Brock Burns had an interception deep in their territory that we converted into a field goal. So right there, now you're up, instead of 7, now you're up another 17 points.
Yeah, I thought that from my vantage point, I thought Trey made the play that I thought kind of set the tone for the rest of the game, but I think Brock had a really good game also.
He did, and he was up towards the top of our tackle points. I thought Johnny May played a fantastic game. He had 4 tackles for loss and 10 to 12 tackles, and Alec Jessup and Zach Randall in the middle did a great job. And even though he's not showing up on the stat sheet, old Max Burris in the middle there, I think he did a great job against their center, and he was getting penetration for us. And I thought as a collective group, I was really proud of the way we adjusted and made those adjustments at half and came out and put together a strong performance. And it was a good win for us.
Super.
Switching over to the offensive side of the ball, Jackson Sweeney. I think he's really turning himself into that solid contributor that Coach May was looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jackson's done a great job, and he's somebody that, just based on need, he could play a number of places. He could be a heck of a defensive player for us. He could be a slot receiver, an H-back. He's our tailback this year, and he's done a great job. And he didn't have quite the numbers against North Central and get going like he did against Carmel, but he pounds it up in there, and he's a threat to take it to the house anytime he touches it. So, and he's a threat in the passing game too. And we're a little short-handed. We lost Will Michaelis going into the North Central game. He tore his ACL, so Will will be out for the rest of the season, and our hearts are with Will. And for a senior, that's a tough way to go out, but he comes out to practice, and he's still smiling. He's keeping our kids upbeat, and we've got a lot of respect for Will Michaelis, and he's still as much a part of our team as he's ever been. And I know he's going to contribute a lot going forward. And our passing attack took a hit there, but Jackson can contribute to that. And Adam Mullet's doing a good job spreading the ball around. He threw to 9 different guys on Saturday morning. No interceptions and 3 touchdowns, threw for about 230 yards. We've got a lot of kids that we can get involved in the passing game. Carter Lohman with the big 76-yarder over the top. I think he touched it 4 times on Saturday and scored twice. So he's a threat running the ball and receiving. So we've got some weapons, but yeah, Jackson being one of them, he does a fantastic job for us.
Coach, we've got about a minute left in the segment here. This Friday, it's travel out to the west side to Avon. Royals 2-0, Orioles 1-1. The beginning of the Hoosier Crossroad Conference games for you. I think a lot of people are maybe a little surprised that the Orioles are 1-1. I think they were thinking they were going to be a little better than they are. What's your take on this game Friday?
Well, Avon, they're always solid. I mean, I've been here for 16, 17 years, and I've never seen an Avon team that couldn't beat anybody they line up against. And they faced an awfully good Ben Davis team last week, and that Ben Davis team's going to give a lot of team fits this year. So, Avon's solid. They've got a Division I player in the Fitzgerald kid, and he's a good defensive player. He'll be in the backfield. They got a young quarterback, a junior, that's been waiting in the wings behind Brandon Peters for a couple years that I think has a real strong arm. Can get that ball out to a number of different kids, and they're just, very well coached. And Avon's Avon. They're solid, and they're always going to be, up towards the top of our conference, and they're going to be in every game that they're lining up against. So we've definitely got our hands full, and it's always a challenge, especially going on the road to their place. So we've got to have a great week of practice and prepare to open up that HCC season and try to get on the right foot.
One last real quick question. Other than Will Michaelis, any injury problems?
I think besides Will, we're in pretty decent shape right now.
Good.
And hopefully we can keep it that way.
Sounds good, Matt. That's Matt Allfeld, defensive coordinator at Hamilton Southeastern. And we thank you for being with us tonight, Matt. And we wish you good luck this Friday as you travel to Avon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And we'll segue right into our own Perry Williams sat down this afternoon with Westfield head coach Jake Gilbert, and we'll see what Coach Gilbert had to say.
Well, welcome. I'm Perry Williams, and this is Hamilton County Sports Talk Show. I got with me today Jake Gilbert, the coach of the Westfield Shamrocks. Congratulations, Coach, on your big win on Friday.
Thanks, Perry. Feels good to see a good week of practice come to fruition.
Yeah, and the one thing about it is Southport's a good football team. It's a good
Absolutely.
6A football team. Westfield came out on top, 27-0. So, talk a little bit about what it was like after that 2-hour weather delay. Because, to me, coaches are a lot like Boy Scout leaders. They have to adjust to about anything that's thrown at them, and that's what you have to do as a high school coach.
Yeah, I think we were poised and ready. I was most proud of our team for that they were able to handle the delay. And, we talk all the time about control what we can control and just stay focused. And I think some of the mental training that we've done over the last few years really paid off in helping us deal with that change of schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach, sort of that first quarter was just a feeling out period, really. I mean, there was no score in that first quarter, but the second quarter you open it up a little bit, and the amazing thing about it, at about the 8-minute mark in the second quarter, you got off a great punt, and it got him deep in the territory.
Yeah, we were a little stagnant offensively to start the game, but we were playing great defense. And our special teams were doing great as well. So we felt fine. We just needed to get the offense rolling. It was kind of the same way week one. But towards the end of the first half, we started to get them figured out a little more. We did a little bit better up front. I think Nate Fralick came in and gave us a huge spark. Made one tremendous run, then several other really good runs, and it just kind of helped us get the ball rolling.
The one thing about, you talk about your defense, right after that punt, there was a great interception there. So, and I think that was, who got that first interception?
First interception was Kobe Hauser.
Yeah.
Jackson Garrett also had another interception as well.
Yeah, and then you came out, got a penalty there, right after the interception on, I think it was on too many players on the field. Or
Sideline.
Sideline, yeah.
Warning.
Yeah, and then you did a little flea flicker, okay, and Pettijohn was wide open.
Yeah, that was executed pretty well. It was a good play. Our offense coordinator, Coach Slicker, he kind of dialed that one up. I was curious when he was going to use it, but he had it in his hip pocket, and I think he called it at the right time.
Oh, perfect time, because he was wide open. You know, and the funny thing about it, you scored with 5:40 left to go in the second quarter, but he was an unusual person that scored the touchdown because of a fumble recovery in the end zone.
Not exactly how we drew it up, but we were very fortunate there. Yeah, we fumbled going in, points within our grasp, but luckily Matthew Robinson was playing hard and playing through the whistle and got his first touchdown. And hopefully his last.
Those are not the way you really want to score, is it? That wasn't a drawn-up play.
Correct.
But in the comment that you made there, he was playing to the whistle, okay?
Yes.
And so that's what's important. And I know, being around all you coaches, that's what you really stress big time.
Yeah, he plays hard all the time.
Yeah. And then, you know, you had some great individual plays on the offense and the rushing. Your running back, Nate Freilich, 17 carries, 118 yards.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So he's a tremendous player. He very unselfish. We share carries between he and Johnny Sweetan, and Andy Sweet carried the ball a little bit this game, and just you know, we've been able to run the ball even when they know we're going to run the ball, and that's hard to do. But when you're trying to run clock and pound the football, even though they know that's exactly what you're going to do, that's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And Sudan had, 14 carries, 42 yards. That's not too shabby. And Andrew Sweet, eight carries, 26 yards. And Sweet was pretty good through the air, 5 for 14 for 132 yards. So.
Well, we just missed on a couple opportunities, but the huge play, obviously the flea flicker, but another huge play to Evan Manley on the post down the middle of the field was big.
Absolutely, and Manley had 3 catches for the night for 83 yards, along with Pettijohn and that one catch for 35. Let's talk a little bit. We touched on a little bit last week, and of course I watched the game on tape delay, and the one thing that I noticed was how important the kicking game is in high school football, especially. And you have a great kicker in Harrison, and right before the end of the half there, he missed, kind of a little chip shot for him with 7 seconds left, but he come back out in the third and fourth quarter and got 2 big field goals at 41 and 31 yards.
Yeah, he's got a great leg. I think he's one of the most underrated players in Indiana. He had a 61-yard punt. He hit a 47-yarder the week before, hit a 41-yarder in this game. We had a bad hold on that short one that he missed. But he's been pretty automatic. I mean, he kicks the ball in the end zone off touchbacks. He's been really, really good. That's one of our deepest positions on the team, actually, is kicker.
Yeah, and great win, okay, and I believe I read somewhere this was your first shutout since October of 2014, is that correct?
That's correct, but really, we were playing a kind of a shorthanded Washington team that night where we had no one else we could schedule. So really, it kind of goes back to 2000 was the shutout before that one, which was Sheridan back in the year 2000, back when we were obviously a much smaller school. So it's been a long time.
And let's keep in mind,
it's pretty hard to do.
Yeah,
in
and let's
today's
keep in
day and
mind
game,
this is
there
a
aren't many
good football.
shutouts.
Southport's a good football team.
Yeah, I think last year Southport, the last couple of years have averaged over 40 points a game. So for us to shut out a school that's traditionally scoring 40, That's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely, because, you
Very
know,
proud of our defense.
I know a lot of people said, you know, that's a new coach there, but that coaching staff's been together about 8 or 9
Yeah.
years. I mean, he just moved up to the top spot,
Yeah.
and I don't think that had any effect on the game at all, the coaching on that, because that's pretty similar to the team you've seen in the past, right?
Yeah, I mean, they lost their quarterback, which was a big deal.
Yeah,
He's pretty
yeah.
good. And then their coach. So, yeah, it obviously has an impact, but that's still a very good football team. I mean, they've got a guy, Evans, who's a Mr. Football candidate, who caught 114 passes, and we were able to hold him to 2 catches. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, and he was a load to handle, too. I mean, I watched the defense pretty close because you mentioned to me the week before that he was a very good receiver, so
Yes.
I did pay attention to him, and he was. But like you said, your defense played a great game.
Yeah, very proud of them. We got after the quarterback. We created takeaways, kept the ball out of the end zone. So
And that's what you
it's a
got to do.
big deal. Yeah, pretty big.
Let's talk a little bit because this week, we recapped last week's game with Southport, which is very, very important, and it sets you up 2-0. But Hoosier Crossroad Conference starts this week. Let's talk just a few minutes on the Hoosier Crossroad Conference in Zionsville, who comes in here 2-0, and what a powerful offense they got rolling.
Yeah,
right now.
no doubt. They've got good players. They're well coached. They're scoring 55 points a game, 600 yards per game. So yeah, they accomplish, twice as much as what a regular team would accomplish offensively. But to average 55 points and to average 600 yards, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? I took a look. I mean, they do pass a lot. Okay,
Yes.
granted that, but they also have a pretty good running game.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best player on the team. So Mike Sewell, number 20, he's phenomenal. He's very fast. He tore us up last year. We managed to beat them the last 3 years, but that kid has been there, and he's an awesome player.
Well, Coach, I'm sure after watching your defense play last week against Southport, that you're going to have your kids ready on both sides of the ball and also on your special teams. So
Well,
I wish you best of luck this week.
We need to get off to a good start because in the HCC, I mean, week after week after week, it never gets any easier.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, obviously your biggest goal is to play at Lucas Oil at the end of the season, but also it's a big goal for you to do well in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference.
But right now, our only goal is just to beat Zionsville.
Okay.
So.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks a lot for talking to us here today, and we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, welcome.
And we're back one final time here on the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. We thank Perry for meeting with head coach Jake Gilbert of Westfield this afternoon. Speaking of Westfield, you're going to be at Westfield Friday night.
I will be at Westfield Friday night along with Jack Russell. We'll start off about 6:50 p.m. We'll have the Zionsville Eagles at the Westfield Shamrocks, and then since we're not here next week after, you and Perry will both be at Noblesville, I believe.
Yep, we'll see Westfield visit Noblesville. They'll travel eastward on 32, and this week you get to see possibly a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward. We were talking with Coach Wimmer and saying they had, I think it was the total 77 points in that game, and it really wouldn't surprise me to see a 50 to 60, 70 point game. It could be lower than that because Westfield's probably a little better defensively than Zionsville is.
I imagine it will be, even though Zionsville had another basketball score at 55-54, nipping Lebanon this past, I believe it was Saturday also. But yeah,
But it's also, the big milestone this week for most of the county teams here, especially those in HCC. This really begins conference play with Westfield at Zionsville, Hamilton Southeastern out at Avon, and so it's we've gotten through the first couple weeks of the season, and now we're going to see what these conference teams are made of.
And speaking of conference teams, tomorrow night at White River Elementary at Noblesville's famed area cross-country course, it'll be the Hamilton County meet. A little earlier in the season than it normally is. Jim and the gang will be out there tomorrow night, weather pending. I don't think it's forecast to rain until Wednesday, but
tomorrow afternoon.
It's tomorrow afternoon. Okay, tomorrow afternoon they moved it up. I never can tell with that Indiana weather, but the Hamilton County track or cross country meet will be tomorrow evening, and they'll have it live for you. I believe the varsity match starts at 6:30, and you'll see that right here on Hamilton County and Hometown Television. Any more thoughts, Brad?
It's starting out to be a great season, and I look forward to be nothing but better and good. And we have got some tremendous games coming up in the next 9 weeks.
Sounds good. Yeah, it'll be Jack Russell and Brad Silbert live. Zionsville at Westfield Friday night, 6:50 for the pregame, 7 for kickoff at beautiful Riverview Health Stadium in Westfield. We look forward to having you join us Friday night as those two take to the airways at 6:50, and we'll hopefully you join us tomorrow night for cross country as well, right here on Hometown Television.